It's 3. So can let me know before we go live. So,
We should put on now.
sorry.
Okay, yeah, we are live now.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. I'm Calico from SINA project based in Malaysia. Thank you for joining us today for the launch of the report, Internet Monitoring Action Project, the State of Internet Censorship Reports. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Okay, so today I have with us is my colleague Siti Noviza, who is the technologist at SINA project. With us is also Kari Zafri, who is the Digital Rights and Technology Manager at English Media, and also Pradipati Rasidi, who is the Digital Rights Program Officer in Indonesia. We'll begin by talking about iMAP project, and followed by a general overview. After that, we'll zoom in into our country-specific reports, beginning with English Media's presentation on the Indonesia and Philippines reports. We have our researchers in preparing these two country reports. After that, we'll follow by Cambodia, Hong Kong, China, Thailand, Myanmar, Malaysia, Vietnam, and we'll end this session with a Q&A. So about iMAP, what iMAP is about. iMAP stands for Internet Monitoring Action Project. It will run from 2021 to September 2024. And in this project, we are looking to establish a regional and in-country network that will monitor internet interference, restrictions to the freedom of expression online in 9 countries and regions, which is Burma, Cambodia, Hong Kong, China, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. On the right, you can see that these are some of our partners, which is English Media. Netizen Network, English Media is our partner in Indonesia, Philippines. Netizen Network is our partner in Thailand. API is our partner in Cambodia. And only they provide us a general support and advisory in all our tools, in using the tools and also the testing and also collection of measurements. So in iMAP, we have 3 core focus. The first one will be the contribution of data and information, which is part of this is to increase the collection of unit measurements, because not all countries and regions have the same amount, and it has a stark difference when making comparisons. So with enough collections, we can make a better analysis and also come to a better findings with consistent and more data collected from different ISPs or ASNs. So for that, we are hoping to gather a regular input measurements from the local vantage points and also to strengthen censorship monitoring by improving country-specific test lists. The second part will be on strengthening the censorship monitoring by improving country-specific test lists. What it means by that is that we are hoping to include more metadata or labels in addition to the existing categories. So we can provide additional context on websites, say whether these are state-affiliated media entities or private-owned, or also provide more context when people who are not familiar with the local context will be able to understand better the process. Another part would be on the annual country reports, which is what we are doing right now, the launch of the country reports. For this launch, we are covering the period from January to June 2022. However, in the next year, we are going to cover from July 2022 to June 2023, and followed by a third report covering from July 2023 to June 2024. So we will have 3 rounds of reports under this iMAP project. Second core focus would be on movement building, which is going to deeper on the regional and national level. Our incoming partners contact with their owners and also widen up the efforts in protecting digital rights. Followed by a third core focus would be on capacity building because we want more people to know how to measure internet censorship using UNI tools or other tools that could also measure internet shutdowns and so on to understand what is the actual state of internet censorship. So they could also carry out their own initiatives to monitor internet censorship and also to how to improve the existing test list that we use, which is the internet citizen-led test list, and how do we review it, update it, and so on when it comes to the test list that we would like to monitor. So our ongoing activities, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to carry out country reports on in 2022, this year, 2023, and 2024 in these 9 country and region. And also, our local partners have been very active in carrying out local partner workshops to get people to understand more what is happening in the internet censorship landscape, and also to understand more on using the UNI tools to build up the capacity of the local networks as well. So there's an upcoming event by Engage Media, which is the Asia Pacific Digital Rights Forum happening on 12 to 14 January 2023. We are also going to carry out the translations of the UNI code act. It's actually ongoing, and also the country reports will also be translated to reach out to wider local audience. Besides that, another ongoing activities would be to constantly updating and review country-specific test lists to make sure that they are constantly updated and stay relevant for all monitoring purposes. That is all from me. I will pass it to Sydney, my colleague, to carry out a general overview of the reports. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Okay. Can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Kelly. So I will begin the general outline, general overview of the reports. So I will present the scope, a bit on the methodology, some key findings in the region, as well as show you how to access the report and the dashboard. So the scope of the report covers, although it's titled 2022, it covers the first half from January to June. The countries covered 8 countries. We have 9 countries under iMAP. So India is have a separate report, which is not part of this release, but will be joining the next one. And we have analysis covering web connectivity, which is covering the websites tested, instant messaging apps, and also circumvention tools. Methodology, the reports are based on UNI's data. So Open Observatory network interference. So UNI is, for those who are not familiar, as and already introduced by Kelly, they have this app, UNI Probe, where there is a list of test websites that are on GitHub, run by Citizen Lab, and there are also websites that are input by outside of the test list using UNI Run and so on. So these tests are run using the UNI Probe on mobile or desktop, and the data is published on UNI Explorer, which is available for all the countries, and the data is then, we then take the data and analyze it for the reports. So UNI testing results, when we test a particular website, they will usually come up with 4 types of results, which is okay, anomaly, confirm, or failure. So anomaly, okay means the website is accessible, there's no issue. Anomaly, the website is somehow inaccessible, but it could be a blocking and it could be a false positive. Confirm is where the measurements show that the blocking is confirmed. There is a block page when the measurement is taken. And then finally is failure. It means that maybe the measurement wasn't taken completely. There was internet loss or something. But in this report, there was, in addition to confirmed by UNI, which is already determined by the existing fingerprints in that UNI's database, we have also obtained a list of blockings based on additional heuristics based on UNI's data. So these are further going into UNI's. It's also based on UNI's data. It's just that those that are anomaly, we are able to confirm further that there are blockings, and this information will be added to UNI database if they have block pages. So basically, the reports also cover list of blockings that are confirm the anomalies that are measured by UNI. Among the 8 countries, Thailand recorded the most measurements with 2.7 million measurements. The lowest was in Cambodia. So the aim of this project is basically to ensure that these measurements are sufficient for analysis and to determine the blockings. And when we have sufficient measurements, we are able to get more data that are enough to determine whether blocking is true or not. And there are about 1,100 blockings found in the list, and based on both the heuristics as well as the UNI confirmed. And the highest was found in Indonesia with more than 400 websites, and this was most likely due to the block list published online by the government, and therefore the test list was able to accurately depict the situation of the censorship in the country. The lowest is Hong Kong, although this is, I will highlight this, I will explain more later, but basically Hong Kong, in the case of Hong Kong, we have a slightly different method of determining the blockings, and that's why it's quite, it's not comparable from country to country. But other than Hong Kong, other countries are relatively comparable in terms of the number of blockings. Other than that, in terms of the category, the websites are categorized according to the 30 categories on the test list, such as alcohol and drugs, anonymization. I think it's a bit small, but we can see here that we have the unclassified category here is the highest, because there are a lot of websites that are tested outside of test list, which weren't added during the analysis, and that's why they don't have categories when in the results. So but in the second highest category would be pornographic websites, followed by I think gambling and also provocative attire. Okay. Other than websites, we also test instant messaging apps and also circumvention tools. So we found that in Myanmar there is some high anomalies in of Facebook Messenger in Myanmar, blocking of Tor in Vietnam, and also Siphon in Philippines. Although this may need to dig out further, because most of the analysis was focused on the websites. So, but these are the anomalies recorded during the period. So yeah, these are basically the findings that we've got from the 8 regions. There will be more context presented by later in the specific country presentations. You can find the reports, the full report, and also the 8 country reports in imap.sinarproject.org. And there we also have a simple dashboard that you can filter by country. And you can also see the full list of blockings and the full list of the test lists that are not found blocked. So you can, I also welcome everyone to go on to the MAT, the UNI's MAT, which is very interactive. And you can also explore more data there. And you can filter how many blockings you see every day, whether, yeah. Lastly, how you can contribute to the study is you can perform our tests. You can download the app, the UniProbe app, on your desktop and also on your mobile. You can also go beyond that and do automated testing if you are more of an advanced user. You can contribute to our test list wherever you are, whichever country you are in. And you can help translate and also participate in the Slack channel. So yeah, I will pass to Kelly now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Siti. So we will now have our administrative representatives, Khalil Zafri and also Adiba Basidi, in bringing us zooming into the reports in Indonesia and also in Philippines. Over to you, Khalil and Adiba.
Thanks, Kelly. Let me prepare my slide. Okay, can everyone see the slides now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone. So I and Khairil from Engage Media will present the Indonesian and the Philippine part. Let me start with the Indonesian part first. So in Indonesia, the government has a filtering system known as Trust Positive, and ISPs are required to implement this filtering to their systems. And as you can see in this picture, this is what you see. This is what happens when someone accesses a site blocked by Telkomsel, a major cell phone operator in Indonesia. So we tested this filtering system with UNI, and the data was gathered in January to June 2020. There were 62 ISPs that were tested. And our measurement confirms the claim that most websites blocked in Indonesia fall under the category of porn, gambling, also anonymizer and circumventing tools, as well as LGBTQ websites, and provocative attire. The blocking primarily is done with DNS hijacking, which can be circumvented with VPN as a result. And in addition to the block websites via Trust Positive, there are also other means of censorship beyond the UNI measurement. We have listed, for example, LGBTQ apps takedown requests by the government, which include dating apps takedown requests like Grindr and also gay magazine sites. Additionally, on the report, we also discuss hoax content takedown requests. So where the government requests platforms to take down content deemed as hoax, although as is recently common in other Southeast Asian countries, those hoax takedown requests are being increasingly politicized, used to silence opposition from human rights activists accused of spreading hoax for criticizing the government. We also discussed the censorship due to accusation of blasphemy, with a long history, not only accusation of blasphemy among Islamic sects, but also Christian sects. And also, we also discussed censorship due to accusation of violating the state ideology Pancasila. We will discuss these details later in the presentation, but let's go to the next slide first. So the interesting finding here is that in 2022, Indonesia see the implementation of law on private electronic system operator. So this law requires platforms, including Facebook, WhatsApp, even PayPal, and even the gaming platform Steam and Epic Games to register as official provider in Indonesia. So by registering, they are required to disclose their data to the government, and they have to abide to take down requests by the government related to the hoax takedown request that I mentioned prior. Or if they do not want to register, their platform will be blocked. So this interesting shift seems to signal the shift of responsibility. So if the burden previously was on ISPs, now the burden has to be held both by the ISP and also on the platforms, unless they want to be blocked by the government. However, although the data was very useful in our report, there are some limitations. We'd like to note those limitations, such as first, the data is not representative of all sites that the government has blocked in Indonesia, because the government boasts that they have blocked more than 1 million websites since 2010, and we only cover a very small portion of it. And also, there's also an issue of miscategorization in our test list, such as pro-independence West Papua movement being labeled as terrorist organization. There is also cases of content farmer websites being misattributed as news media, which might give the impression that there are many blockings on news media when in fact those sites are content farmers. And although we cover quite a lot of ISPs, there are possibly many other local ISPs that we have not covered in this report. Lastly, I'd like also to mention that hyper-nationalized censorship is still under the radar, although the tests have identified the censorship of sites pertaining to ethno-religious and gender minorities, such as LGBTQ, also atheist sites being blocked. The test lists have not measured the sites that are censored due to recent hyper-nationalist efforts taken by Jokowi's administration. So there are a lot of sites accused of radicals and acting against the state ideology Pancasila. Those sites are not included in the test list yet. Given that the recent democratic decline in Indonesian democracy, there is some kind of arbitrary definition what constitutes a radical or groups or radical site exactly, and those definitions is often used to deter political opposition. Meanwhile, there has been increasing support and pressure, including by some parts of civil society, moderate Islam groups like Nahdlatul Ulama, who support the arbitrary blocking of those sites deemed as radicals. And Nahdlatul Ulama alone provided more than 210 websites to be blocked, as you can see on the list there. But it remains unclear what kind of website we should block. I'm passing this over to Khairil now.
Thank you, Ajit. We can go on to the first slide, the Philippines section. So in our report, we captured that there's the UNI data shows limited blocking in the Philippines. So we did the test on 23 ISPs, more than 2,000 websites were tested, but we couldn't confirm, there was no confirmed blocked using UniProbe. However, through heuristic analysis, there is, we found 16 websites were blocked. There's a table there. I'm wondering maybe I should share my slide. Oh, there you go. So there's 16 websites blocked in 1 to 5 different categories. So these are mostly gambling, online gambling websites, pornography websites, and one websites in each of these categories: anonymization, risk prevention tools, social networking, and culture. So we can speculate why the number of blocked sites is quite small, and from our interaction with activists and journalists and technologists in the Philippines, it's hard to narrow down to one single kind of reason why there's very few websites appear to be blocked. And also, we also found that the blocked websites are not consistently blocked, like all across different ISPs. It's quite isolated in different instances. However, internet censorship is actually a lot more complicated in the Philippines. So the Philippines, I think, compared to its neighboring countries, has very robust legal framework that protects free speech, media freedom, and privacy. So the 1967 Constitution actually have broad guarantee of freedom of expression. But at the same time, there has been a lot of harassment, intimidation, and bullying of media practitioners, media organizations. Excuse me. One case that we can give, and it's an example, is the cyber libel case against Maria Ressa Reynolds Santos Jr. and the Rappler, their organization. So they were investigated and subsequently charged in court for cyber libel. And what's interesting about cyber libel is it even more severe than, you know, the normal libel law in the penal code. And we also say it's more complicated because there is this use of the law that is not defined or not constituted in the statutes. So, for example, in June, the National Security Council, under its Anti-Terrorism Council, requested the National Telecommunications Commission to block 26 websites because they were found to be affiliated or supporting terrorists and terrorist organization. It's the list is actually very specific. There are specific websites mentioned with their IP addresses, and they actually include news websites, Bulat Lat and Pinoy Weekly, and the other websites are so-called Philippine Revolutionary Movement. And so what happened subsequently, Bulat Lat actually challenged this order in court, basically saying that not only the NTC doesn't have any power, doesn't have specific power to demand ISP to block, but it's not justified, and they actually even requested for damages, it was quite interesting because in the beginning, the judge actually said there's no violation because she basically just opened bulatlat.com and the website was accessible. Although it's quite interesting later, after some public pressure, they finally won the case. However, the judgment was quite narrow, and the judgment only ordered for the unblocking of bulatlat.com. So all the other websites, the one you're seeing right now is the order from the National Security Council. So all other 25 websites are still technically blocked. Why is it technically blocked? It's blocked, because of this order, but in some cases, users can still access these websites, and in some other places, internet users might not be able to access. So the enforcement of this order is not consistent all across the Philippines. We can go to the next slide. And why we also say internet censorship is complicated, because even though there are probably limited number of actual blocking of websites, there have been documented DDoS attack, allegedly state-sponsored. So one example was news websites like Rappler, Ultimedia, and also human rights organizations were targeted with a distributed denial of service attack. And this has been confirmed by Curia Media, who did an investigation and traced back the IP addresses to the Department of Science and Technology and also the Philippine military. In the Philippines as well, although activism, social activism, and journalism quite can thrive in the Philippines, but there's often activists and journalists are often build a quality evidence so that we can really use it in court. Because in the case of Bulatlat, for example, the judge basically just access the website on her own browser and say it wasn't blocked. That wasn't a good enough way to prove that there's block. What we could have done is actually show there's over a period of time there are different ISPs that the websites have been blocked. The second thing is because we are seeing, for example, in Indonesia, online censorship is getting more and more sophisticated. So UNI is a systematic evidence gathering tool, but how do we actually, even systematically gather evidence of other forms of network interference? So one question that came up from our engagement with the Philippine group was, how do we actually gather evidence of state-sponsored DDoS attack? And also, how do we actually track and document, when government issue a takedown notice to platform owners? Because these are also forms of internet censorship that we should look into. And thirdly, I think if you're talking about freedom of expression as a right, it's not absolute. So arguably some level or some form of internet censorship, some people might say it's legitimate. There's some reason why we might want to censor the internet, but what form of internet censorship should take, right? Should it look like? So for example, questions that came up was, if we want to advocate for internet freedom, we need to be able to give a solution to what would a more productive form of internet censorship or internet control, information control might look like. Because when you have a centralized censor body, the tendency is to over-censor, such as the case in Indonesia, where ComInfo, very, very sophisticated, have a centralized list of blocked websites, and it was easy to push the list to all ISPs. So what would an alternative form of internet censorship might look like if we want to actually be part of that conversation around internet governance? And Adit might want to take on point number 4 and close the presentation.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Khairil. So just continuing what Khairil has said. So perhaps there is a question about how we should factor internet censorship as a part of broader trend of information control. So I mean, like something like how it is not an isolated incident, but a part of the landscape of media ecosystem in certain country, like in the case of Philippines, just like what Karel has described, and also how we should factor deployment of political trolls or political buzzers in the case of Indonesia and Philippines as well, as a part of those efforts to censor information in the internet. But also, I'd like to raise interesting point based on our discussion with a researcher from Kyoto University, Sipri Jehan Wajudel, who researched information control in Papua. So how should we factor internet censorship? That also depends on productive information. By that I mean the ways the government and other affiliated parties, affiliated actors may produce positive contents, quote unquote, feel good content, like for example, the benefit of infrastructural development in Indonesia, the benefit of the good things government has done, which may flood the cyberscape and distract from human rights cases of human rights abuse, coverage of human rights abuse in the region. And this has been tried in Indonesia, where the country has a very easy mechanism to create online news portal. So this is not strictly disinformation, but the news are not fake news, but feel good news, which can distract the discussion on human rights abuse. Yeah, I think that's all that I want to add, and that's all from our presentation. Thank you for your attention. Looking forward to your feedback. Passing this back to Siti.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pratika. Thank you, Karil. Siti will be zooming in the reports of Thailand, Hong Kong, and also Cambodia. Over to you, Siti.
Okay, thank you. Uh, okay. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. My slides are quite short. So I'll start off with Cambodia. So basically, Cambodia, there are about 17 million in the country. And the basis of internet censorship is mostly the 2015 law on telecommunication, as well as this broadcast number 170, although it was claimed that it was not targeting media, but it ended up become a basis of legal for censorship in Cambodia. In Cambodia, unfortunately there are no blog pages found. So most of all of the domains found blocked are based on heuristics, which are we can't confirm 100% that there is a blocking, but it is most likely there is a blocking at the ISP level by the government. So, and we have found that 43 domains were found blocked, including independent news and media websites, and also opposition parties' websites. There's a lot of work to be done for the test list. Most of the highest number of by category is unclassified, and it's followed by news and media, and also gambling websites. Yeah. Next would be on Hong Kong. Hong Kong, as we all know, has gone through some lot of there were a lot of protests in the 2019-2020 year against this bill that punishes that arrests that becomes a basis to arrest political dissent, which was then protested by people in the country. And this was followed by the national security law, and this was then used as a basis to censor websites that are mostly political criticism or on human rights issues. And it is also the human rights situation is very concerning, especially when in the activities of CSOs, our partners are even our partners in Hong Kong are anonymous, and we have a lot of we face a lot of difficulty in even in reaching them sometimes because of these concerns. And as mentioned earlier in my general overview presentations, the methodology to detect blockings were different for Hong Kong because the heuristics found as used as in other countries found that there were internet censorship coming from China instead of inside the country, and therefore there wasn't we couldn't filter those measurements, although we could if we go deeper, and we can consider that for the next round of reporting. And so our partners found that found through manually through Oni Explorers for websites. They were mostly confirmed by news reports saying that there were blockings, and ISP themselves confirmed of these websites, mainly on political criticism and also on human rights issues. So 4 websites, 7 domains. The next would be Thailand. Thailand, the legal landscape is mostly on the section 112, which is related to offenses related to the monarchy, and regulation 29, which was brought most after the pandemic, which was to curb fake news or disinformation in the country. So a lot of the blockings, recent blockings were based on these two legal act. One is mostly on when there is a protest on the section 112. For example, this website called no112.org, which is which is basically a petition website to call the cancellation of this law, and also change.org, which is also a protest against the government. So a lot of these websites that are blocked in Thailand were related to this offenses, where the government blocks websites related to protests by the people in Thailand, where there is criticism towards the monarchy or the government. There are also blockings in pornography and gambling, as well as a bit of those VPN-based websites. In all these countries, there were no blockings in instant messaging and also circumvention. Although there are circumvention tools blocking by websites, not by the apps themselves. Yeah. So, and I'll also like to mention that in this report, it is a follow-up report for Thailand, because before this there was another report also released by Sinan Project in 2017. So in that report there was about only 13 websites that were found blocked. So and in this report we found that 119 domains were found blocked. So it's quite an increase, thanks to the increased measurements as well as the heuristic conducted. So this is the blog page, and today I was also informed by our partner that there were some recent developments in the legal landscape of the Thailand. The regulatory body of the ISP, the NTAC, was they made some new law regarding the computer crimes, and also they seek public consultation on internet freedom, and our partners has contributed. Yeah, so that's all for the findings for Thailand, Cambodia, and Hong Kong. I'll pass it to Kelly for the rest of the countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Siti. So I'll be covering and zooming in into the reports of Myanmar, Malaysia, and also Vietnam. Okay. So for Myanmar, just a little bit of context as to what's happening, because we have been informed that internet users have been rapidly increased in the previous years. However, the coup that happened recently in 2021 bring an unexpected transition back to the situation where high censorship and also internet restrictions with periodic blackouts of internet. So it also causes the issues with inability to use VPNs that was experienced by local users, and also a reduction of internet speed, increased mobile data and SIM card prices, telecommunications infrastructure problem, and also unstable electricity supply. So it affects our connectivity and also our general living standards there. So there have been systematic and also nationwide internet shutdowns for about 8 hours. That was mandated after the military coup took over. So it lasted temporarily. However, even after connections have been restored, it has been reported that there still have issues with reduction of the internet speed, and also the blocking of some mobile networks. So going into the findings, from January to June 2022, we have gathered 700,000 own measurements, and collected from 2,130 websites from 37 vantage points. And out of these websites, we have found that there are 112 blocked websites, so it comprises about 5.26%, and that from the block measurements collected, it is gathered from these 9 ISPs: Frontier Myanmar Net, Global Technology, Atom Myanmar, Fortune Telecom, and also Myanmar Information Highway. So what you're looking at right now is a chart. So this chart shows the measurements collected that is broken down by categories. As you can see, because the detection of measurements collected is not equal per se. And based on the collection itself, the most is from GRP, which is the social media, and that they have a lot of anomaly counts and also with the highest confirmed count measurements collected. But that doesn't mean that they have the highest number of websites being blocked. It just means the collection of measurements broken down by category. If you zoom into the categories itself of the website that is found to be blocked, actually the highest number of websites falls under the news media category. So there are about 30 news sites to be blocked, found to be blocked, followed by pornography, and also Anon. Anon is the anonymization tools. GOVT is the government websites, and so on. So this is the chart showing the number of confirmed website categories. And next, this is just a little bit of zoom into some of the notable sites. So under news media, there's currentnews.org. So Current News is actually a website by the current community journalists. This website generally provides some information and news about the current community in Myanmar. And for Rohingya, Kobo.com and Rohingya News Bank, these two news sites are also run by the Rohingya community. As for these news sites, they are all blocked by way of DNS tampering and also TCP/IP blocking. Zooming into government websites, this NUG Myanmar.org, this is the website of the National Unity Government of Myanmar. So this is the official government information by the exiled government. So the next one is CRPH Myanmar. This website belongs to the committee representing Pita Su Hutlong, which is the Myanmar legislative body in exile, representing the group of National League for Democracy lawmakers. So they were ousted in 2021, the coup d'etat. And these two news sites have been declared, they have both been declared illegal by the ruling military government, which led to censorship. Next, I'm going to look into Malaysia. A little bit of context is that Malaysia is actually in a state of political instability with a change of three governments from February 2018 to October 2022. And after the recent general election in November, we have another new government. So therefore, from the span of 2018 to now, we have a change of 4 governments. So looking into some key findings, we have over 1 million measurements collected in the period between January to June, and also collected from 260,000 domains tested from 31 vantage points. So out of these websites, we have seen 75 blocked websites, and that the measurements collected, confirmed blocking measurements, there were 7,000 over measurements collected from these ISPs. So TNet, Time.com, DG, Maxis, Cellcom, YTL, and U-Mobile. So with a little bit of updates is that if you can see that DG and Cellcom has the asterisks at the end, it's because they have been recently announced that they have been merged into one entity. So in future findings, we'll be looking at a slightly different measurements and also analysis. What you're looking at right now is the number of confirmed booking sites by category. So we can see that the highest number of sites actually falls under the category of pornography, with 20 sites found, followed by political criticism and gambling, and also LGBT sites and so on. So a little bit of context. These are some of the political criticism sites found to be blocked. The notable ones are moneyistana.com, which is the first one. It is an NFT site created to sell the caricature depicting a monkey wearing a royal suit. This is drawn by the political activist Fahmi Reza. So his artwork actually led to police investigation under the 233 of Communications and Multimedia Act and his arrest. So around the same period of time, he found himself to be barred by the immigration department from leaving the country, but that could possibly be because of his other ongoing legal proceedings, also involving political graphics posted online. So, however, he was later unbarred from the immigration department. Next notable site will be the berse.org. So berse.org is the official website belonging to the Coalition for Clean and Fair Election. And it was found to be blocked during the culture period. Actually, it happened since June 2021. So this happens to coincide with the launch of a stimulated recall election campaign called Site of Keep. So it is a platform for eligible registered voters to initiate a recall election. And it is suspected that this could be the trigger that led to censorship. And some of the LGBT sites found to be blocked are here, also listed here. Notable ones would be justiceforsister.wordpress.com. It was accessible during the coverage period, but except on 14 and 15 June, which is found to be blocked by iMAP. We don't know why it happened, but it happened to coincide with the period when the government announced the elimination of bus Lightyear will not be screened in Malaysia due to its LGBT elements. But we do not have a conclusive evidence for that. And now we are looking into Vietnam. So a little bit of context on Vietnam is that Vietnam is under authoritarian political system. So the freedom of assembly, association, expression, or even freedom of press and religion is actually very tightly restricted and controlled. Even though there has been legislation recognizing these rights. So certain topics coming related to political oppressions or unfavorable to the ruling party, corruption or human rights issues are actually censored in various ways. So during the period, we have found that there are 300,000 old measurements, and these measurements that have been blocking the websites are mostly coming from these 9 service providers, which is VNPT, Viettel, FPT, Saigon Tourist, Mobifone, and Vietnam Mobile. For details, you can see the right-hand side, you can see that VNPT are state-owned. So, and also Saigon Tourist and so on. This is a bit of context. And looking into the website that I found to be blocked, we are looking at the top 4 categories. So the most websites are from news media with 57 unacceptable websites, followed by some political criticism, human rights issue, and pornography. Some of the notable sites that we would like to highlight is Dun Chang, which is a page of a Vietnamese blogger who is also a journalist, publisher, and democracy activist. This person has been arrested by the government. Basam is also blocked by a Vietnamese blogger, and this person has also been arrested. Vietnam Times, which is a Vietnam toy bomb, it belongs to the Vietnam Independent Journalists Association, and it is an independent journalistic professional association and also a civil society organization. And these 3 sites has been found to be blocked during the period. These are so far our findings from our reports. For more details, please go into our website. And we thank you for staying with us during this live streaming. If you have any questions, feel free to post it on YouTube channel, or you can also email us separately through our email addresses posted at the right-hand side of the slides. So you can also reach out to us, and we are now open for questioning sessions. Thank you so much. So looking at the questions, we have received a question about where can I access the data. Siti, would you like to take on this question?
Hold on. Okay. The data is available. There's a link in the report. I will also share in the chat box later. And it's available on GitHub, the full list of blockings, and also it's also on the website, the link of the GitHub. Yeah. And when there's a dashboard, there are also charts. You can also download each tables for the charts. When you click on the button on each of the charts, there's a menu button on the dashboard. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Siti. So we also have another question, which is, I read it out. Many detected blocked sites across the region are uncategorized as per citizen-led test list. How can the community help contribute towards reviewing and categorizing these sites. Siti, would you also like to take on this question?
Yeah. So this is also through the GitHub, but this is Citizen Lab GitHub. So anyone can make a pull request, and you can add or delete or change the categories or update the categories based on the 30 categories listed there. There is also a test list editor which is more user friendly. You can add or delete and comments, and then Citizen Lab will moderate the whole process of reviewing the test list. Yeah. We are also welcome you to contact us if you have any trouble to like make changes to the test list. You can contact us on the Slack channel is open for everyone. A lot of people are have a lot of reviews. If you are unsure whether this website is can be added or not, you can also ask questions there. Yeah, thank you.
To add on to Siti's answers, feel free to also join the Slack community, only community on Slack, so they can also provide some advice as to how do you want to review or update the test list. Netalitica has also published a guideline as to how do you want to sort out a review or whether take out some websites that you find to be unrelated. So you can also feel free to refer to these two guides published by UNI and also Netalitica. Thank you. So, Siti, since we have a little bit of time, would you like to share perhaps the charts and also data that can be accessed on our iMAP website?
Sure, hold on. Yeah.
Sure, Siti will be sharing just to give a preview on how do you
Okay.
navigate and access the data.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. So this is our website. You can search out for our report here in 2022 State of Internet Censorship. There is a full overview of the 8 countries, and you can also download the full report and also individual countries here. The dashboard is so here. So in this dashboard there is okay. Yeah, I have to fix this. Hold on. So there are confirmed blockings by country, and also the list of confirmed blockings. So the 1,000 websites are here, and you can also download the list of here. And there is also a simple chart of the testing only results. But I recommend you to go to the MAT on UNI's website, UNI Explorer, to get more charts, like you can play around, filter or sort more there. But as a glimpse, you can because this data is based on the 6 months, and UNI's data, you can play around with the dates and all that. And there is also this table where you can see what websites are not blocked in each country based on the test list. So you can download it. You can just search or sort here. Yeah. The data sets is also in the main page, which is here. You can the 2022. You can download the data here. Oh, hold on. So there is the confirmed blockings in Excel format, and also there is also the Jupyter Notebook used for the heuristics, and you can also see which IP address that we found were used as the basis of confirm blockings there. So, and if there are any suggestions or any changes that you would like to suggest, please feel free to submit here on GitHub, or you can contact us, team@zinaproject.org, anytime. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Siti. So this concludes our launch, and a final shout out is that if we are welcoming any feedbacks to our projects or the reports, and welcome all our collaborations. So feel free to reach out to any of us. And we also like to thank you, our community, iMAP community, and also ONI community that help us in gathering the data and also in writing the reports. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again next year.